All right, good morning. My name is Ryan. I've worked for RTA for 25 years. This is one of our newer buses. It's a 2023. The year is represented by the second and third digit in the bus. We have 2013s, 2014s, and 2016s still on the road. They're all the same buses. They look pretty much the same color scheme. We have a few red ones that differ in color, but the body shape's all the same. Pretty much all the mechanics and locations of equipment are the same on the bus, so it's similar. The only thing that might differ is the components themselves may look a little bit different. This is a 40-foot Gillick bus. It's a low floor bus. It weighs roughly 40,000 pounds. It consists of 8 CNG tanks up top. They're a Type 4 tank, which is a carbon fiber wrapping around a polymer tank. They hold 3,600 PSI per tank and 82 liquid gallons, if you want to know in liquid gallons it would hold. Over here is our fuel manifold. This is our high side gauge and our low side gauge. The high side reads what's in the tanks, so it can vary from what it maxes out at the 3,600. This one's 3,000. The low side usually runs at 125 PSI. So by shutting off this fuel quarter turn valve, it'll stop fuel flow from the valve to the engine. And with the engine running, it takes about 30 seconds to run that 125 PSI down. From the back here, there's a main switch valve. So if it's running from the back or running from the front, you guys can turn off the main valve here. It shuts the solenoid down and takes about 10 seconds to run all the fuel out of the engine. The tank valve switch is here. So by turning this tank valve on, it varies from the pressure of what's in the tanks, but a full 8 tanks at 3,600 PSI will take 4.5 minutes of idle time to run all the fuel from the tank lines into the engine, okay? There is a shut-off switch right here, so if it's running, you guys can put it in a neutral position and kill the engine. It's recommended if there's a gas leak up there, if you guys can, just go ahead and shut off the tank valves and the engine valves. We have a 25-pound dry chem ABC extinguisher tank up top. That extinguisher tank feeds only the engine compartment itself. There's 4 nozzles that disperse over key points of heat, which is the exhaust pipe, the turbo, the alternator, the AC compressor. That 25 pounds of agent can blow out a 5,000 square foot building, fog it all out. So there's enough agent, but it's strictly for the engine area. There's nothing up top for it. It's activated by these thermal sensors, which are a 350-degree thermal sensor. So when they heat up enough from the fire, it'll activate the tank, it'll lock a pin down in place and disperse that agent. Any questions there? Okay. So up top on those 8 CNG tanks, in the center of these CNG tanks right here, you have these manual shutoff valves. So on the newer buses, they're a yellow handle that you guys just turn. It has a built-in solenoid for those switches right there. This is your guys' PRD. The PRD has like a bimetal plug in it. So between 212 and 230 degrees of heat, it'll melt that plug off and it'll expel the gas out of there. It's a one-time use and it stays open after that. They have vent tubes that will vent through the ceiling. Any questions there? So we'll go to the front. So over here will be a place of concern for you guys because you can have a fire or batteries explode. We have 4 batteries. They're AGM batteries. There's a 12 and 24 volt system. Down to the lower left is our shut-off switch. It's a quarter turn shut-off switch. It shuts battery power down to the bus. Our older units have a knife switch, so you guys would pull down and pull up to turn it off and on. The engine door in the back is always unlocked. All the other doors are locked panels, so you need to use a square key or a fat bladed flat screwdriver in order to turn these quarter turns. You do have quick access though right here to turn the battery switch on and off, and then over to the side for air valves if you guys got to dump air out of the system to gain entry into the bus. Okay, and we'll go inside. So up here the driver has access to a 5-pound extinguisher over here in the fire extinguisher box. Over here to our left is our AMREX system. It's a fire suppression gas detection system. So when those thermal sensors hit 350 degrees, it'll register up here. It'll activate the extinguisher tank. It'll send off a bunch of alarms and shut the bus down and won't let the bus restart. The gas detection's built into it. So up top there's 3 gas sniffers. There's one in the engine compartment. They give a specific location to each of the gas leaks. They go under a trace, a moderate, and a significant. So a trace and a moderate will give you a little alarm and it'll tell the location of the gas leak. And then the driver will notify dispatch to notify us. A significant, they'll do the same process, but it will shut the bus down and give a bunch of alarms and it won't let us restart the bus. Over to our left here is our ignition switch. So in order for the doors to work, the ignition needs to be on. The door valve needs to be pulled all the way up, and then to your left, this black handle is your door control, so you can open the front and rear doors. If for some reason these valves do go bad, to gain entry, you guys will have to dump the valves off. If somebody's stuck inside, you would turn the quarter turn valve up here after breaking the little plastic, and that will expel the air pressure from the door valve. And towards the rear, you would break the plastic on the rear and you guys would pull that cable, and that releases the locking mechanism for the doors. So for you guys to gain entry in from the outside, you would most likely dump the air off the doors. If not, I would say break out the closest window where you guys can reach your hand in there and you guys can pull that manual cable, or if you guys can reach your hand up here and turn the valve, and that'll minimize the amount of damage you guys have to do. Towards your left, there's the first 3 windows have red handles. Those are all your emergency windows. You can open those up and those are fixed into place, so they hinge. And then to the right, you have 3 more emergency windows for access. So the driver also has access to the manual controls to disperse that tank. So they would pull this pin and just push the button, and that will disperse that tank back in the engine compartment. The Type 4. In the center, you guys can see that those are your manual shutoff valves with the yellow spigots. Our older buses might have more of a fluorescent orange or purple indicator to shut those valves off. You can see there's 2 gas sniffers in the center. Your PRDs are attached to those manual shutoff valves, and you can see the vent tubes. The vent tubes are recognized by the 2 red caps in the front, the 2 red caps in the back, and the 12 red caps in the center. That's your vent tubes for your natural gas to vent off the gas, or your gas in your flame. The older buses, it might be blue caps, but those will be your indicators. Red or blue caps is where your vent tubes will blow off through the roof holes. As far as I've seen on some tanks, and I'm not 100% sure on ours, that if these have the protective coating, fire resistant coating, they have done tests to where for 30 minutes at 1500 degrees flame, it only kind of melted the wrapping a little bit. So they seem pretty stout. But if you guys do get gas leaking off, it's pretty loud when the PRDs blow. So you guys will hear it. As if it's full pressure, you'll hear it. If there's a flame, you guys want to be anywhere from 50 feet to 100 feet away from it. I would recommend letting the gas blow out and letting the gas flame blow out before you guys do it. It's be hard to get water up here because of the covers on top of the tanks. Other than that, any questions? Good. So these are our shutoff valves, or manual shutoff valves for each of the tanks. Each tank has a manual shutoff valve. On this 2023, it's represented with a yellow one. You just twist it in to turn it off. On our 2013s, 14s, and 16s, it might be fluorescent orange or purple. Right here, all these red caps on the newer buses, there's 12 in the middle and 2 on each end. These are your PRD blow-offs, so this is where your natural gas will vent from, or your flame and natural gas will be coming. Over here are our gas sniffers, so we have one on each side to pick up gas leaks in this area. The older buses have blue caps, so there might be 4 blow-offs in the back, 4 in the front, and 8 in the middle. But the blow-off area will be red or blue capped. So on these newer 2023s, each pair of tanks have a separate set besides the ones on the tank valves of PRDs set in the center. So this will be an area where the PRD can release, break open and release from the red cap area. The older buses don't have those, so they just have the PRDs on the valves themselves.
So my name's Andrew. I work over at the Fleet Garage over at the main shop here at Adams Street. Just wanted to show you guys some CNG stuff, what's kind of equipped on our city vehicles and just the overall construction of these vehicles. These are our standard trash trucks. We call them packers here. They basically load from the side. This is what you would see coming through your neighborhood picking up trash. All of the city's fleet for the trash trucks runs on compressed natural gas. They're all equipped with tanks up at the top here. We got 4 full-size tanks, each equipped with a shutoff valve. Really the only way to shut off the whole complete system is to shut off each one of those individual valves there. From those tanks, which are all plumbed together, they come down this main line here. Basically, it could be when they're tied together, like the way they're set up right now, they're if you have any kind of pressure loss or anything like a pressure relief device lets go, it's going to continue to drain out that system until everything is completely depleted. But from those tanks going all the way down, it leads to this pressure box here. So from here, this is where we have our, why am I drawing a blank? Pressure. It basically drops the pressure down to a usable pressure for the engine. So we go from our 3,600 PSI standard pressure, what most CNGs operate at, and we drop it down to 100 to 150 so the engine is able to use it. On these boxes, which you'll find on most commercial vehicles, we have a quarter turn shutoff valve right below the fill receptacle. You are able to shut off the gas here in order to isolate the system, but just keep in mind that's only going to work for the low pressure system. Anything going before this box is going to still be active and live. Also on these trucks, we do have hydraulic concerns to worry about. This is our hydraulic tank. It's usually always going to be mounted on the side. It's a black box holding about 30 to 40 gallons of hydraulic fluid. Right next to that, we have our battery box. All city vehicles are equipped with a shutoff as well. Most of the time they're going to be a silver handle or black handle setup, but they're always going to be mounted near the battery box. We've had a lot of issues with hydraulic leaks as well. Just some of these units are older, and also just how much they move around and how much they rattle. Hydraulic leaks are prone to happen, and also with the exhaust running right next to it, it does create a spot that is a potential for fire hazards and things like that. So for our truck body, we do have our hopper here up on the ladder. That's where the trash goes in. We do have the option to open the rear hatch, the tailgate, to dump trash out. I know we've been talking about with you guys, when we do have a fire inside, usually what the protocol is to dump it on the street or a safe area in order for you guys to go in there and do your thing and take care of that. However, keep in mind, if we do lose PTO pressure or any kind of PTO hydraulic function, there is no override or bypass to open that truck bed and to dump out the trash. The only way would have to be the way of physical means of defeating the safety latches on the rear and basically manually opening that lid. So I'll kind of show you guys back here just kind of what you're working with. These latches are the safety latches I'm talking about. There's one on each side. Basically, if you were to relieve that, that would give you access to the back of this and allow you to get inside. A lot of guys have experience, it sounds like, dealing with these fires, and each instance is unique. So we just kind of want to show you guys what is equipped and how to go about it and how they mechanically work. So that way you guys can make that call when you're on scene out there. So also wanted to show you a few demonstrations too. The mechanical valves that you would see up on top of those, they're little turn valves like this. This is basically what would shut off the CNG tank. This is the only way to shut off that high pressure to prevent it from going to the rest of the truck. On the newer styles, we are finding that they are installing pressure relief devices on them. So it's kind of like a combo unit. And if you look on there, they're all rated to a certain rating. This one actually happens to be at 108 degrees Celsius. So their little disc in there basically will give way, valve will open up, and it'll start offletting any compressed natural gas inside. It is a one-time use. Once it opens up, there's no way of shutting it. It's gonna vent until everything is empty. On some of the older units though, we do have a separation where they don't have a PRD in the actual valve, and it is an actual separate unit. So you will actually see this mounted on the opposing side of the CNG tank. So you would only have a mechanical valve there, and then your pressure relief device would actually be separated. Same concept, this one just happens to use a vial of fluid. Once it breaks, it opens up. The good design about these ones, there's a spot for a fitting here, so you can actually put a vent tube, and you'll see on some vehicles they'll actually have like a little stainless steel tube coming out to vent it up and away from the vehicle. They also utilize these in passenger cars and cases where the CNG tank is mounted inside the vehicle. So just wanted to show you guys those demonstrations. And then also we have our Connect buses. These are our special transport for people who have needs throughout the city to take them where they need to go. Also, with my past experience working at First Student, these are the same setups that you'll see with the smaller school bus setups, the ones with the wheelchair lifts. Same exact CNG setup and layout as well. So on the side here, we have our auxiliary batteries. Most of the time, you'll find 1 to 2 batteries set up on here. If you do need to cut power to the bus, there is a red cutoff down here, and that will actually cut off all power to the vehicle. So it's just a simple quarter turn and go ahead and shut off and turn that power off to that vehicle. And then on these setups, on ours for the city, we do have fire suppression systems built in. They are triggered by either the driver with a pull pin and a push button, or also with a sensor system, but that only pertains to the engine and transmission of the vehicle. There is no inside suppression. There are buses out there that do have internal suppression inside the cab. Unfortunately with ours, we just have it set up this way as a safety measure. So we can go ahead and take a step inside. And from here, you can see we have our fire suppression system here. It's just a basic pull pin, press the button, and it'll suppress the engine fire. We also have a gas detection system that will detect if the air is becoming filled with gas, and there's basically measures oxygen versus fuel, and when it creates a dangerous situation. There is a sensor up here. It's just a little sniffer that basically takes little samples as you go. That's pretty much it for the front driver. And then if you guys want to come on up, I'll show you just kind of. So on our Connect buses, our special transit, we do have a CNG system that's hung underneath, unlike we saw on the trash truck there that's on top. So there's currently 2 tanks that hang along the frame rail. And if you look underneath there, you have your frame rail in the center, and there's 1 tank on the left and 1 on the right, basically inside and outside. Those are all plumbed together to 2 more tanks in the back that are a little bit smaller behind the rear axle. Same kind of system setup. However, with our Connect buses, they are tied in with electronic solenoid valves. So when you lose ignition power, you basically, the valves will shut and it will disable the system, kind of similar to shutting off each one of those valves. So we do have the luxury of keeping that system a little more safe based on ignition. However, not all CNG vehicles are equipped with that. That's kind of something new, and on, I would say, smaller and mid-size capacity vehicles. Same thing with the shut-off valve though. We have a quarter turn shut-off valve, and they're actually going to notify you right here. CNG manual shut-off valve between frame rails, basically pointing you where it's at. It's the same kind of style. You'll actually see it next to a filter, and I actually got a picture of this right here just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Same kind of concept, that you have a quarter turn valve to shut it off. Now that's only going to do low side. And like I said, the nice thing about this one though is if you kill the ignition or turn that ignition key off, you will hear the or may not hear them close, but their normal resting position is closed. So you lose ignition power, the valves are going to shut on you. We also have our fuel gauge here, just like we saw on the trash truck. That's going to display your high pressure system. However, on this one, it wouldn't have like a low pressure setup. It's just depending on the manufacturer and how they built the vehicle. So that's pretty much it for the CNG system. As you can see, most of the systems kind of share the same things. There are subtle differences, but as we progress with CNG, you're seeing more and more technology and safety items being placed in the vehicle. So more pressure relief devices, things like electronic solenoids and things of that nature. But it's a little hard to determine what a vehicle is equipped with, but we just want to show you what the basics are and what they're equipped with a tank, a low pressure side, and a shutoff valve and some kind of gauge. So just wanted to show you that, and thanks for coming.
All right, let me start with the manual shuttle valve, where we can indicate the main shuttle valve that is located right here. Most of the time we keep it on the on position. We don't really necessary to need to turn it off. To turn it off, you just move it to the up position vertically and it's off. Most of the time only mechanics, they turn it off because when they need to do service to the buses or work near the tanks, they actually keep it like that. Us as a drivers, we always leave it like on the on position like this overnight. It stays the same way. Now for fueling, to receive our fuel, we need to inspect that the O-ring is totally intact, not broken or missing, because otherwise it's unsafe to fuel, because otherwise it'll be leaking to return either to school or to the yard, and it's totally unsafe. So part of the training that we receive before fueling, we need to check the seal, cover for dust, and this is our fuel gauge that tell us how much of fuel of gauge we receive or have in the tanks. And right now it's at 31 or 3,000 pounds of fuel, which is PSA, representing pounds per square inch. Also, it has this door has a sensor that every time we fuel if in case we leave the door open, the bus will not start. So actually we need to close it and lock it. Right here underneath at this direction, the end of the tank is start or ends from here all the way to the front tire. It's approximately 10 feet long, and we have two of them. Right at this direction, it has an extra valve. Each one of them, they have an extra valve to turn it off and on. And also there's a label like this one right here at the end of the tank that says the fueling on both directions. If they need to transfer the fueling from one of these tanks to a separate outside tank to work on the tanks, they can do that. And like I said, both tanks are separated right here. They are totally metal cage protected, so no sharp or nothing underneath will damage the tank. And there's a reason why totally metal protected cage. And each individual tank has a valve at the end, so you can close it or open both of them pretty much. Right here, this is the electrical panel for the shop or mechanics come and replace any fuse, or if we have any malfunction switch in the inside of the driver's compartment, they can come and replace any fuels. We actually carry some here, but only mechanics are allowed to come in and work on that. This is our battery compartment. As you can see, we have 6 batteries right here. All they have to do, mechanics, they need to pull this handle up, and then what they do is a little heavy. They will pull the tray all the way out when they need to replace the back ones for whatever reason, you know. And there is a switch right here to kill any power through the battery system. It's located right here, so they just need to turn it off and it'll be killing any power in the battery compartment. And this is to secure the battery tray, making sure that while driving, this will not come out while driving on the road. It's totally secure, and pretty much that's it.